So, when I was younger, I was part of a youth organization of sorts. One volunteer thing we did was regularly mow and do maintenance on an old cemetery. No one had been buried there since the 80s, but once we took care of it, people started using it again. Keep in mind this is in a really rural area. So we are mowing and doing other things one day. I was in high school at this point. It was near the end of the day, so most people had gathered by the gates. I was in the far corner, crouched down in tall grass, in part of the unused cemetery. I was going through an old pile of flowers, finding the years and years worth of plastic flowers that had been tossed away so they could be thrown away properly. A few young kids come over and start playing in the tall grass. They are making their way toward me, and I could tell they hadn't seen me yet. When they got close but still hadn't seen me, I said, "Stop walking on my grave." They instantly froze and looked around, then they took off sprinting so fast. One kid even started crying. Once my mom found out what I did, she was pissed, but I still thought it was hilarious. There used to be an old abandoned school in a town by my house. It was heavily boarded up and super hard to get into. Well, a friend and I managed to get inside by climbing up the side of the school via a pipe and slipping through a window on the roof. We explored the basement, which was flooded. It was kinda creepy seeing stairs disappear into water. We had just left the gym when we heard footsteps coming from the doors on the other side of the gym. Scary as hell, especially considering it sounded like it was one person, not another group of explorers like us, and blocking our exit back up to the roof. The only way out otherwise was behind us, through boarded up doors. They sounded like someone who was walking around and stopping periodically. There was no light coming from that direction, and we couldn't fathom why someone would come into a creepy place like this alone. We waited for the footsteps to stop, then snuck across the gym, peered down the hallways, saw no one, and continued towards the stairs which would lead us back to the roof. Halfway down the hall, we hear something sprinting behind us, probably 50 meters away or so, down a typical high school hallway. Now, it is mostly dark here, but there was a small amount of light coming in through cracks in the window boards. Still, we didn't see anything behind us as we quickly ran up the stairs. We didn't stop until we got back to the 4th floor. We listened for noise. Nothing. Hopped out the window and climbed back down the pipe. Legitimately the scariest experience of my life. I have no idea what the hell went on in there. I'm a photographer, and for some reason, abandoned places are intriguing to me. So last year, I'm about an hour north of Nashville, Tennessee, and it's summer, so the sunsets are killer. I had flown in from London so my buddy wanted to sleep that night. I had my eye on an abandoned factory I saw on the way to our hotel. I gathered my gear and a flashlight. I parked down the street from this place and find a smashed glass door to crawl through. The entire place is covered in glass shards on the floor, and it looks like something out of an I Am Legend movie. I've been homeless before, so I know the glass is so a homeless person can hear an intruder walking around. I went through a few rooms, then up some stairs to try and find the roof. The door at the top was cracked, and as I was slowly pushing it open, I saw a bed and some McDonald's cups laying around and knew there was something living here. About halfway through the door swinging open, a homeless guy pulls it open and swings at me. I duck, and at this point, I am holding my camera up, telling him I'm just a photographer trying to find the roof and don't want any trouble. I got really lucky here, and he thought it was cool I was doing that. He showed me up to the roof and even gave me a complete tour of the factory, telling me its story and that it used to be a slaughterhouse. He showed me all the dangerous spots where the roof was weak and the blood pits full of pig's blood that you could fall in and drown pretty easily. Super nice guy. Told me the other guys staying in other parts of the factory were not good people. He had a job, just trying to get off his feet after a divorce. Bought him some dinner the next night and shot fireworks off the roof for some photos. Just outside my college town was an old, abandoned house down a dirt road that people used to go hang out in to drink or look for ghosts. We'd drive out for the latter and cut our engine or headlights so the neighbors wouldn't call the cops. The whole place was falling apart. I'd have loved to have seen it back in the day. It was at least 2 stories and a cellar and just a mess. We used to find jugs of weird shit, shoes with nailed on bottoms, lots of evidence that the place had been abandoned for decades. The thing that made us nope the fuck out, however, was the shed outside the kitchen window. It was full of dead turkeys. At first, we assumed some animal was dragging its regular meal in, but you could tell by looking that they'd had their heads smashed in and were pretty much untouched. Nothing was eating on them. They were just getting piled up to rot in there. You could see the older corpses underneath, piles of old feathers and bones. We came back a few times after we found it, and it was pretty much always the same. Still no explanation.